The New York Giants begin their offseason program this week with a laser focus on building a winner. Here's how they can get off to a good start.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, New York Giant fans, and welcome to the Locked On Giants podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Traina, and on this episode, the New York Giants begin their first off-season program under new head coach John Harbaugh. So what's to be expected? We'll run through the key points, and we'll talk about how the Giants can accomplish their biggest goal, which is to turn the program around. All right, let's get right into it, folks. All right, so today, as I record this, and as you're probably watching, it'll be Monday, the 6th of April. The Giants get underway on Tuesday, April 7th. Head coach John Harbaugh will welcome in those to the voluntary, keyword here, voluntary off-season program who show up. They'll have a team meeting. John Harbaugh will share his message. He will share his vision, give the team a little bit of a pep talk. I would imagine Giants.com is probably going to capture parts of it and put that out on social media. But basically, these first few days of the offseason program are going to be all about setting the tone, the direction of the franchise. All right. The Giants over the last few years, as we know, they've kind of lost their way a little bit. So Harbaugh has been talking about, the direction, what he expects. If you followed some of the interviews that he's done, he talked about, the message, the identity that he wants for the team. And this is all going to be shared with the players as they show up to the start of the offseason program. Now, remember, the offseason program is voluntary, but I would fully anticipate that a lot of guys are going to be there. I would be shocked if the Giants don't have 100% attendance. And it's kind of interesting. I think the reason why the Giants are starting one day after when they can really start, they could start on April 6th, but I think the reason why they're starting the next day is to allow guys to come in, anybody who was at home spending the holiday weekend with their families. So they're giving them a little extra time to get into New Jersey if they plan to attend the off-season program. All right. So the message that John Harbaugh is probably going to share with these players and is to finish. He's going to share, leave your egos at the door. If you don't love football, you're not going to be here. Put the work in, do all the little details, pay attention to all the little details, because that's where it all begins. Get to know your teammates. You've got to rely on these guys when push comes to shove in the huddle. And even though a lot of guys are coming back who played with each other last year, you've got a lot of new faces coming in. So it's going to be all about building that camaraderie. That's all about, getting everybody back into condition. Guys have been working out, I'm sure, on their own, but now they get to come in and work under the supervision of the strength and conditioning coaches. All right. So for the first couple of weeks, it's going to be all about, strength and conditioning and rehab and all that stuff. Now, as you all know, the Giants are going to have a mini camp this month. It will be the days before the draft. It's April 21st through the 23rd, I believe. So that mini camp, as of right now, not open to the media. So we won't be able to, report on anything that there. But it's an opportunity that's afforded to all teams with a new head coach to basically get their guys on the field and kind of see what they've got, see them in person, ask them to run certain types of plays and, certain types of things so that they can kind of tweak the direction that maybe they're planning to go in and as far as, plays and what they ask these players to do. So that all being said, what do we need to keep an eye on? Well, again, who's going to show up? I fully think that it's going to be 100% attendance. Now, John Harbaugh, when he speaks to the media on Tuesday, and by the way, it'll be Harbaugh and the three coordinators who are scheduled to speak to the media. Right now, the players are not scheduled to speak. So Harbaugh doesn't have to necessarily tell us who's there and who's not. And I don't think he will. Because again, it's voluntary. So to call somebody out publicly, well, we just won't know unless, somebody leaks it to the media. But there is one key message that the Giants will need to drill home to the players, that Harbaugh and his coaches will need to drill home to the players when they begin to really get into it and work with them. Because right now, for these first 2 weeks, they can't do anything really football related. They can just have, like, a general welcome meeting, but they can't do anything football related because this is the first phase of the offseason conditioning program. So what is that message, and how can Harbaugh drive it home? I'll give you the main message, the most important message, right after we take a quick break. Hey, Giant fans, when the pressure's on and you need the right hire, it's time to call in Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for: skills, experience, and location, so that you're not just hoping that the right candidate stumbles across your posts. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of the Locked On Giants podcast get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on the Locked On Giants podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. All right, Giant fans, the NBA playoffs are here, where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. You can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, and matchups all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're looking at stars, role players, and key moments. So head on over to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. All right, Giant fans, welcome back to the Locked On Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network in America. I'm your host, Patricia Traina. The Giants are getting underway this week. Off-season program begins. Again, it's voluntary, but I would fully guess that a lot of people are going to show up, if not 100% close to it. Now, there's one big message that is important, that I think is going to be a running theme throughout the offseason. And it's going to carry over into training camp, and it's going to carry over into the regular season. And what's that message? The Giants have got to transition, all right? They have got to go from being a developmental team to a win-now team. That's got to be their grand identity, because, for years we've been talking about how the Giants are rebuilding the roster. They're coming off of a bad season and they've got to rebuild the roster and they've got to add pieces and whatnot. Well, they worked on the roster in free agency, but it wasn't a strict rebuild. It was more or less a retooling, if you will. All right. They tweaked a few spots, added a few guys in here, set themselves up for the draft to where they can go in just about any direction. It's not like, sitting there at 5, it's obvious that they have to go this position or that position. So that's all stuff that they did to set up the roster. And that's all, John Harbaugh driving that during the offseason, during the free agency period. So now it is time to take that to the next step, which is win now. And Harbaugh has said repeatedly that he believes this Giant team will be able to compete, will be able to win some games this year. All right. It would be nice if they could win more than 4 games like they did last year, or 3 games like they did the year before. And I think John Harbaugh feels very confident in that. He feels confident that they can challenge, at the very least, a wild card spot. And why not? I mean, if they could keep them healthy, if they put together a solid plan for both the offense and the defense and special teams, and they stay away from trying to jam square pegs into round holes like previous coaching staffs have done, why couldn't the Giants compete for a playoff berth? Now, the Giants are not going to be a Super Bowl team this season coming up. All right, they're still not quite there yet, but they absolutely can compete. And I think for the first time in quite a while, we can honestly say that the draft that's coming up is, while very important and also the lifeline of the team, it's not a do or die draft. And by that, I mean, you've got a pretty solid foundation right now as it is. You do need to add to it. Let's not, kid ourselves. They need to add to it. But this isn't a do or die situation where, gosh, the Giants' fortunes are going to depend on who they draft and who they bring in and how they develop and all that stuff. There are still questions that have to be answered too. Let's not forget about those. We need to find out, where Malik Neighbors and Cam Scatterbo are in their rehab, two very important guys. I think other stuff that we need to keep an eye on during the offseason, and there will be times when the media will be allowed in, by the way, just not necessarily for the first mini camp, but where is Jackson Dart in terms of his development? What's the next logical step for him? And how is he coming along with that? The offensive line is going to be certainly something to keep an eye on. And, the defense. Let's not forget about the defense. Last year, defense played a little bit better once they made the change at coordinator, but the run defense has to be really, really on tap this year. So there are a lot of questions that need to be answered over the next several weeks, leading into the OTAs, leading into training camp, and then into the regular season. But the bottom line with this particular team and the start of the offseason program is that the tone is going to be set. None of this, let's let the identity develop organically. Harbaugh seems to know what he wants. He's going to convey that message to the players, and it's up to them to deliver at the end of the day. All right, Giant fans, that's going to do it for this quick edition of the Locked On Giants podcast. Again, thank you so much for spending part of your day with us here on the Locked On Giants podcast. The off-season doesn't exist for the Everydayer Club. Join the group chat to talk Big Blue year-round and get every episode of the show ad-free. Head on over to LockedOnNYGiants.supercast.com or hit the link in the show notes for more info or to join. All right, Giant fans, we will see you next time here on the Locked On Giants podcast.